Hello and welcome to Take Refuge 3D with me, Peter. Welcome back, and if you're new here, then just welcome. And in this episode of the latest in the betas for Plasticity, we're going to look at some upcoming features that are currently in beta, including new tools that are for Class A surfacing that bring some of those high-end surfacing features for automotive and product design, as well as a plethora of new quality of life features. Now, if you have a studio license only, you can try out the beta releases by going to the Unstable Releases tab on the Plasticity Discord and downloading it from there. And if you do not have a Plasticity license, you can download that from the official website with a 1 month's free trial. And after that, if you love it like I do, you can use my code REFUGE10 to get a 10% discount off any Plasticity license. Okay, let's get busy. Now, the first thing, and what I think some people will think is probably the most important thing, is now the toolbar remembers when you restart Plasticity what side it was on. So I'll restart Plasticity and you can see it's on the left. Now I know this was bugging a lot of people because I saw it mentioned a lot on the Discord. So I'm sure there will be a lot of people that are very, very happy about being able to put the toolbar where they like. To be honest, it doesn't bother me what side it's on. Now, the next thing that we'll look at is the zebra shader has changed. It's changed visually. It's a little bit different to what it was before, but it's also dynamic now. You can dynamically change the amount of stripes or bands that are on here under the material options, much like you can change the amount of rings on the radial shader there. So this is really useful, especially if you've got, you know, certain little nooks and crannies that you want to focus on a bit more. You can add more bands, or if you want to look at the overall, you know, continuity, you can reduce them down. So that's just a quality of life thing, and that's great. Another quality of life thing is ambient occlusion is also in shader mode as well as being in the rendered mode. So you can see the ambient occlusion in here. And the way that you can do that is if you go to preferences, obviously under appearance, you can choose the AO radius and fall off. But if you go to performance, under ambient occlusion, it says enabled in shader mode with this toggle over here. And then it says, we recommend enabling ambient occlusion in shader mode for machines with high-end GPUs. AO is always enabled in render mode. So they mentioned on the Discord like 3060 or higher, I think. So you'll just have to try it out. I'm sure you can get it going on a lower GPU than a 3060, but obviously you might start to run into some chug. So that's cool. That's something that I actually mentioned that I would like to see, and I'm glad to see it. Another one that is maybe not a biggie, but definitely going to have some use case, especially in big scenes, is the reverse command now works on multiple objects. Now, so the way the reverse command works is that if, let's say we pipe this out, okay, pipe it out like that, and then just change the scale here, right? And then we get that original curve, we duplicate it over a couple of times, and this now works on multiple, or it should do. So if I type in reverse and reverse that, and then now try and pipe those, and then when we change our scale, it should scale at the other end. Yeah, so we've got those happening at the other end. So this could be useful in some areas where you've got a lot of things to work on all at once and you don't need them to be identical. I don't honestly find a use for it myself at this stage, but I'm sure I will come into a use case at some point when I'm doing something. Now, just before I delete all of those, I'll go get them back. Now, let's say that you've got a line here and you try to cut your object and it's not going to cut because the supplied parameter evaluates to a point coincidence with a edge vertex or whatever. You've got an error here. We now have this extend command, which is just going to extend that curve, and you can see the visualization of the extension here. way beyond the parameters, or the perimeter rather, of the object. So we now have a cut object that we can play with. So the next one, if we just pull out a couple of these objects here, okay, and let's say we take these two and we lock them, okay, so they're locked, we can't select them, we can't select that one. We select all, well, that one didn't get locked, okay, we select all, and the previously when you used to do select all, which you can do here, it used to select locked items as well. And we also have a new command, which is unlock all, so we can unlock them and now we can select them all. So I think that's going to be super handy. It's just one of those things that's just going to make life a lot easier, especially when working on big projects. Now, the next one is really cool, and it's really cool because it's a little bit personal to me. So if we go into render mode and we go into assets and we come down to the bottom, we can see that there's this new hex metal material being added. And you can see that that creates a hex metal material. We can hit M and we can change the texture scale. So we've got this cool hexagon material. Now, what's cool about this is I made it, and why that's cool is because I just love the way that Plasticity runs as a business. It is a business, it's a commercial software, but the creator Nick is always open to ideas, so much so that he's got a whole feature request website on the canny.io where you can add features, feature requests. There's another feature request thread in the Discord where people add feature requests, and honestly, I just think that that's so cool because, and so how this came about was when Nick introduced the materials in one of the other betas, somebody asked for a perforated hexagon material because it's useful for product design or something like that. And Nick said, like, look, if you can find a high quality CC0 texture, let me know. And I thought I'd have a crack at it. I did in Substance Designer. I made it. You can see it's got a normal map and a little bit of a bevel on there. You know, we can rotate our environment to see it, you know, and it's got a little bit of texture, and I threw it over and he plocked it in. So it was just like somebody requested it, I made it, and Nick added it in. And that's what I like about Plasticity. It's what I kind of like to think of as like a pirate ship democracy. Like there's a captain of the ship who makes the final decision, but for the rest of the time, you know, to stop a mutiny happening, the captain takes suggestions and ideas from the crew, you know, which is the users. And, you know, on canny.io, the ones that get more votes, if Nick thinks that it's got enough votes, and B, it's something that is suitable for the software, then it's going to get added in. If it's not suitable for the software, it's not going to get added in. So I just like that whole method, right? So I think that's really cool, and I get a little bit of bragging rights. And if you want that material, material for other projects, I have actually made it completely free, and it's on Blender Kit where you can download it for free, only for now. So it goes up to 4K, and if you want to get a Blender Kit paid plan, which you don't need to use this material, there is an affiliate code in the link with and that comes with a discount, and you can download lots of different 3D models and things like that. So it's a really big asset library. Okay, so moving along, the next thing that I think is really cool is, let's just get rid of this guy and have a look at these other guys over here. Okay, so first of all, I'm somebody who is big on using the raise degree command and all of that. So let's just make a new plane over here. All right, I'm going to subdivide that a couple of times and get rid of the curve. Okay, so I do this a lot. Dragging around the marquee is a pain, right? and I accidentally grab those two, and I just want to grab a row. So there's a new command. You just hold down Alt, and in between two control vertices, you can press, you can click, and you select the whole row, and you can hold down Shift to add to that, and then you can, you know, Shift G and slide it around or whatever. But that's really useful. So I think that is one of the most useful features, because that is going to save me so much faff from, you know, using the marquee to try and select rows, especially when you get up to, like, you know, having a whole ton of them. You know, you can, if you want to do every alternating one, you can, right? So I mean, that should be able to, this is probably going to fail. No, there we go. Okay, so that's really useful, and I think a lot of other people are also going to find that useful. Now, let's get into the really, really cool stuff. So there is 2 new features that aid in what they call Class A surfacing. Class A surfacing is primarily used in automotive and high-end product design for getting really, really smooth blends and things like that. So the first tool, which will be in the Indie license, is called Measure Continuity, and the second tool, which is powered by Xnerbs, will only be in the Studio license, which is called Align. But before we get into it, we'll just sort of have a little look at what continuity actually is, because understanding what continuity is really helpful when you know, when you do these things. So a lot of you will already know, but if we just turn our edges off, so we've got G0, G1 and G2. These all describe different levels of continuity or tangency. So a G1 just means there's 2 edges touching, right? So in this case, you can see the sharp edge, these 2 edges are touching, and that is a G0 continuity. In this case over here, the algorithm might not pick it up, but you can probably see a bit of a line here. Maybe a different shader will highlight that. Actually, you can see there, you get this sort of sharp turn in the curvature. Maybe if we use, maybe the zebra stripes kind of help there as well. So this is basically a G1. It's probably not quite a G1, and we can actually find out whether it is or not by selecting the 2 edges and just typing in FMEA and finding measure continuity. And it does actually say that on a G0 continuity, there's a 0 meter deviation. On G1, it goes to 0.264 degrees. So that is quite a low number, but it's still not 0. And if we go to G2, right, so it's almost G1. And if we go to G2, we can see that it's all the way out there like that. And one way that we can, you know, sort of prove this, so if we look at this one, we know this is G0 because we know the 2 edges are touching, and that is just the point of touch is the G0 continuity. So you achieve G0 and then G1 and G2, and then in some cases probably G3 as well. But I've got measure continuity in my favorites here, so I'm going to select that, and we're on G2. So it's got a big deviation there with G2. With G1, I mean, the scale is way out, but it's we'll just bring that there. So we've got a deviation there as well, and if we go to G0, we can see that's 0 deviation, right? So we know that that's G0. So what if we wanted to blend all of these? And just to prove the point before I do, okay, so if I just move this away, right, and then we do the measure continuity, we're on G0, we can now see that we've got this 0.012 deviation because they're not touching anymore, so it's deviating from the tangency. So, well, there's no tangency, there's just touch, but tangency occurs at G1, and then tangency plus a blending of the curvature happens at G2. So the new command in Xnerbs is Align, And I think the best way to show this is just bring this one out here a little bit to the left. Okay, and we can try and align these two here. So we go FA and we just choose the align command, and we're getting a G0 connection there. Okay, we can check the continuity at different levels. So G0 we're getting, and G2. So what we want to do is we want to try and achieve G1 or G2. We want to try and achieve G2. So we've got G2 here. It's way off, but we add some spans and degrees. It starts to come down. Okay. And then go down this to 0.1. I think of 0.05. I did notice on one of Christian's videos, Kookmeister Swagger, he mentioned in text form, because he doesn't talk in his videos, but that achieving lower than 0.05 is a good goal to get. So we'll see if we can achieve that on this. I'm not sure if we're going to. We can try and blend this as well. There we go. We got 0.06 there. So blending the CVs, what that does is it starts to add more of these control vertices into the blend, right? And as we come up, it goes up. And there we got it down to 0.03. So I think that is a pretty good G2 continuity, especially considering that these two edges have different shapes and angles. So that's all blending in now. And if we turn on our radial, you'll be able to see if we turn this up. That's not doing a very good job. With the zebra stripes here, we can see as we zoom in, we can see that those are connected quite nicely. So we can join those two together, hit J. All right, and then we can just keep moving along. And this is what apparently Class A surfacing kind of is. You know, obviously you'd use it in more complex scenarios than this. So this is trying to get a G2, okay? But we need to start adding a bit more spans, and we got 0.08, 0.07, and then we can start to blend. And then we got it. We got it below 0.05. So I'm just going to join that together, and I can see the bump coming down and the bump going underneath. And as I add my stripes in, I can see that those are blending, right? So, and then finally with this G0 one, we should be able to do the same thing. So we just, and there we go. Now we want to try that at G2, and it's all the way off there. It's got like a deviation of 3. We can start to blend those in. And obviously, if you're doing car sides and things like that, you're going to get some pretty cool results by using this tool, because this is allowing you to like visualize, you know, with these lines here as well. Visualize what's going on. And there we got it below 0.05. And maybe want to blend 0.02. So there you go. So if we look at this, and this is just a really arbitrary example. This is not the kind, like, I'm not making anything here. But obviously I've got all of these things blending together, and they've all got different curvatures. Each plane has got a different, you can see there's, this has got a lump coming down. This has got a lump coming up. This one was off as well, and they've all blended together nicely with smooth. So especially if you're getting like really little nooks and crannies, and you want them not to have any shading artifacts, a line tool is going to come in super handy. So that one is studio license only because it's Xnerbs powered. But also the measure continuity tool, if you do not have Xnerbs, is not Xnerbs powered. So you're still going to have that extra ability to be able to try and troubleshoot your continuity using the standard patching and loft tools there as well as raise degree. So look, I'll leave it there for now. I think plasticity is coming in leaps and bounds. I think some of these new tools I'm going to use, and some of them I probably will use less because I've got, you know, a certain type of modeling. And this align command, for somebody like me, probably not going to use it heaps, because a lot of the stuff that I make is going to get low polyed, textured, and covered in mud anyway. So I'm not really making clean surfaces anyway. But knowing how to use it and understanding how and why it works is super useful for those cases when I will need it. So I'll leave that at that, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Tschüss!